All right, we are back with the Ramp Careers Daily Update. I'm here with Manoj, one of the co-founders of Ramp Careers, and obviously I am Danny, the other co-founder of Ramp Careers. We have some great things to talk about, news story, and then we want to talk about reskilling and career paths in 2020. But first, a cool article came out today, Manoj, about the Tesla plant that's opening up in Austin. They've already opened 39 jobs. That's pretty crazy. Elon Musk is a maniac. He's already working hard, even though he doesn't have a factory, to employ new people. And these are HR folks, these are factory workers. This is exciting.
It's a new world out there, Danny. I think he's redefined what car manufacturing will look like in the future. I mean, are these even hardware jobs necessarily? I almost look at Tesla like it's a software company that has some hardware components to it. Isn't that how they're pricing their product too? Like if you spend a little more, most of the features are already built into the car and they unlock it.
Exactly that. And their mission has changed a bit, or maybe their mission was always something and they expressed it differently. But their mission is actually to continue to improve the world through clean and renewable energy. And one of the ways they express it is through Tesla cars. So yeah, these aren't even factory jobs. They're HR jobs. They're software jobs. And yeah, you're right. This is more like a tech company or an energy company than it is a car company. And I'm excited to see what they do next. The innovations they've made through just being an exceptional car company has been profound. That's such a hard market. It's such a hard industry to break into.
No, I agree. But here's an interesting question for you, right? So you look at what Tesla has done and you look back at American car manufacturing, you look at, boy, have very fond memories of what the Fords and the GMs of the world have done to propel America into the forefront. It was very innovative for that time. Lots of employment. I think there have been, also the concept of labor unions have also been kind of solidified. It grew out of that world of manufacturing. But now all of those workers doesn't exist as a work form anymore. You can't go in and do the kinds of things that you used to do in a traditional car manufacturing plant. And you're now moving towards a world that's machine enabled, but still requires some human component to it. And now you're moving into a world where these cars are, probably going to manufacture themselves and will drive themselves. And Uber kind of came into play in between and created job opportunities for so many in the realm. And so if you look into, let's say 10 years from now, where car manufacturing may not need as many people as it used to, and the gig economy around ride sharing and driving cars, you may not need human intervention. That's all automated. What do you think all those people are going to be doing in terms of employment? I wonder what's the next thing. Is it just universal basic income and no one works and we live in a dystopian world? That sounds nice. Or do you think that there's going to be new things that people need to learn how to do?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's going to be a combo of both, and that's a good segue to our main topic today, which is how do we think about career paths and reskilling and hiring in 2020? What does that look like, and what does it look like going forward? The question you asked is an interesting one, and I do think that the next phase of this gig economy will look like this. Now, today, there are several different platforms where you can sign up to get reskilled. Platforms like Udemy, where you can essentially learn any skill you want. You can learn how to be an entry-level accountant. You can learn how to negotiate. You can learn how to be a trader, whatever you want. And you'll take those skills and you'll apply it to some sort of marketplace. Today, there are some marketplaces out there like Fiverr or Upwork where you can offer your services as a lead gen person, or if you want to be a Salesforce administrator, there's tons of people looking for Salesforce administrator jobs. Those platforms will allow you to express your skills and get paid for them, which is really nice. I'm curious to know though, Manoj, what happens from there? Are we just these solo entrepreneurs who have badges of honor and ratings from all these different sites, and we just get selected? Is that what the future is, or is it something else?
I think it's a combination. It's interesting that you mentioned Udemy's of the world, Coursera's of the world, and also the Upworks and Fiverr's. In many ways, it looks like what traditional 2-year degrees and 4-year degrees have done, or at least advanced education grad schools have done. These online, on-demand, curated learning platforms are, in some ways replacing them or augmenting them. I think they're augmenting them today. I do see a world where they'll replace them. I think that the 4-year education business is not for everyone, and it's not necessary. So that's one piece. The other interesting piece is that when you ask yourself, why is it that people seek out conventional employment? It's because they're looking for a platform. They're looking for some kind of an opportunity for them to trade their time for money. And a company or an employer has aggregated supply for you in one place, right? So all you have to do is has aggregated demand, not supply. They've aggregated demand for your skills, and you just have to go there and provide your skills, right? But the Fiverrs and Upworks do the same thing in a more democratic fashion. It's a marketplace. They've done the exact same thing that an employer would do at a much larger scale, if anything, and with a lot more flexibility. So I do see them as potential replacements. I do see a world where it's a marketplace where you have needs and then you have skills and then there's a matching happening. I think there's other benefits that typical employment relationship offers, in that people like the idea of having or not having to worry about figuring out healthcare, right? It's offered to you as part of a package, or figuring out other types of insurance payments, figuring out getting just one W-2 as opposed to multiple 1099s from multiple people, right? And then you don't have to worry about invoicing somebody. You just get a paycheck. You never have to invoice your employer and say, hey, I'll spend 8 hours, pay me, right? You don't have to do all of that. However, I do think that there's a new breed of companies that are solving that problem as well. Today, you have businesses that offer health insurance for 1099 workers. You have entire service businesses that are geared towards helping you with invoicing and billing, the software you can use for it. So I can see, how all of those benefits that employers used to offer as a freelancer, as an independent worker, you can just leverage technology and get the same benefits. So I think that may very well be the future, right? Where everything's a marketplace, and you can upskill as often as you want, and you have a whole support system that is out in the periphery that will help you do this job well. Maybe it'll lead to happier people and better outcomes because it's all skill-based, and it's all based on, to your point, like reviews. And it reminds me of the Black Mirror episode, although I don't really know if it has a lot of parallels here. But hey, I mean, why not? It's a good validation, right? I mean, it's instant validation. In some ways, I kind of like it. I want to get stars after I do a task or a project, because that's one of the things that I enjoyed being a waiter, was the instant gratification of getting a cash tip. When I'm at my job, your boss doesn't pat you on the back for doing a task every day. I mean, you get your paycheck, right? But I kind of like it. I mean, people like achievement motivation.
I like what you're saying there. And I think you're right. I think it's the positive equivalent, not the ominous, eerie equivalent of Black Mirror, where if you do have a job, or if you have a task, or if you have a need, you will go to different marketplaces. They could be elite level marketplaces. It could be a marketplace where you're looking for a very specific type of lawyer to handle a very specific type of trademark. And you could find that person on a marketplace in the future. And I think people in general want that sort of flexibility, especially as we're moving towards a more remote oriented world. If you want to work on something for some portion of the day and then work on something else for another portion of the day, as the employee, the quote unquote new employee, you could probably join many marketplaces and get many different gigs and fill up your roster of gigs and make some sort of income.
What's your take? One school of thought is, hey, you're a job hopper, you never stay long enough to really add value. Another school of thought is, hey, listen, like if I'm taking a skill-based approach to it, and if I'm able to deliver very quickly, then I should have the freedom and the autonomy to be able to do that at other places. I see a lot of that happening today. I don't think it's sexy to work at the same place for 10, 12 years. And I'm defining sexy as, is that a quality that, receives wide admiration from many? Probably not. Maybe there's a small generation that would look up to it. What are your thoughts on it? Do you think it's okay, acceptable, or even better? Do you think that's what you should do?
That's a great question. I believe a few things at the same time, and I'm trying to hold them all in my head and say them at the same time. So on the one hand, if you look at my career path and you examine the tech industry, people jump around all the time. I have jumped around quite a bit in my career. I was a account executive IC at Groupon. I was there for 2.5, 3 years. And then I went to a few different venture-backed startups as VP of sales, head of sales. And I was at each one for approximately 18 to 20 months. And then started my own business where I consulted for and built sales teams for different venture-backed startups. And that for that, worked with tons of different people on tons of different projects. I'm inherently biased towards it's okay. Now, I do think the arc of the career should tell a story that's coherent and not I jumped around because I couldn't really figure out what I wanted to do, and not I jumped around because I never really loved anywhere that I was at and I didn't really get along or I didn't have success anywhere where I was at. I think that's different than, hey, look, I'm building into this. The crescendo of my career is this company that I want to found and I need to learn skills along the way. Or I want to be a career SDR. And that's totally great too. I see some folks crushing it as career SDRs. And I'm just in as an assassin for 18 months. I love being on a product. And after that, I just get bored and I want to move on to the next hot product. That's fine too. Now, the other thing I'm holding in my head is if you're a doctor, if you're in a profession like that, I don't actually want to see you jump around that much. I don't want my surgeon who's going to potentially operate on my knee have stints at 10 different clinics in 10 years because I don't know why. That to me is terrifying. So I'm kind of holding this double standard in my head, admittedly, and saying, okay, it's okay for some and it's not okay for other. And I don't know how to reconcile that or balance
maybe it's
that.
just a bias, Danny. I mean, maybe it's just some kind of an inherent bias that we have, right? At the end of the day, it's because maybe it's your health and you don't, what if the doctor had, 5-star reviews from each hospital? What if there's a way that you could independently verify the doctor's performance, just outcome based, right? Have their patients done better than not, right? So maybe there's a little bit of that. But when I look back at my own career, I can honestly look at it in two ways. One is it's been all over the map. I started out practicing as a CPA, and then I did some consulting work, and then I went to law school, then I went to banking, and then I went into a startup where I did a bunch of stuff. Then I worked for a travel e-commerce company, and here today we are trying to build a business that's trying to fundamentally redefine how recruiting works. I can either say that I did all of those so that I can build this business with Danny. It's one way of saying it. Another more honest way of saying it was looking back and constructing a story that fits the narrative today. I've learned something tremendously important at each job, and I've just taken on increasing responsibility and done things that I felt were interesting at that point in time with the information that I had at that point in time, with some economic realities and obligations that I had to meet at that point in time, right? I genuinely think that people tend to make whatever decision they think is best for them, and it's a moment in time, and you can't, I believe that you can't quite architect your future as closely as you think you can. So I tend to be a little more forgiving when I look at resumes that are non-linear. I do believe that as long as folks, seem to be enthusiastic about the job, I tend to give them the benefit of doubt. However, to your point, I think it's easier for the human mind to comprehend some kind of a linear progression. We think that way, but I'd be hypocritical because my own resume sings a different song.
And to some extent, mine does as well. So here we are trying to build a business and shifting again. So we're eating our own dog food or somebody else's dog food. I don't even know at this point in time, but we're doing something. Stumbling today. It's Friday. For Manoj, I am Danny, and this has been the Ramp Careers Daily Update. See you later, Manoj.
Bye.